Tonight on Y News. Malacanang announces that President Rodrigo Duterte will no longer issue an executive order against contractualization. A recent survey shows a drop in sales of sweetened beverages due to train law. And the Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board suspends Grab's 2 peso per minute travel time charge as the board approves the operation of 2 new transport network companies. Y News begins now.
From the UNTV News and Rescue Command Center in Quezon City, this is Y News.
Good evening. President Rodrigo Duterte will not sign an executive order against contractualization, says Malacanang. Rosalie Cos will tell us why.
It is up to Congress to finally put an end on ENDO or end of contract system of employment in the country. This is the position of the Department of Labor and Employment or DOLE, shared by Malacanang. With this development, Malacanang says President Rodrigo Duterte need not issue an executive order on contractualization. This is contrary to the previous announcement it made that there would be an EO before May 1 or Labor Day.
No EO anymore?
I believe so. That is the position of Secretary Bello now.
What about the palace, the president?
We go by the, alam mo naman ang position ni President, no? He leaves the management of the line departments to the secretaries.
Roque also says the President has already fulfilled his campaign promise to end the 555 scheme or the 5-month contract of employees.
DOLE has beefed up the number of its labor inspectors from 200 to 500, and that's why they have effectively cracked down on those resorting to prohibited ENDO.
The House of Representatives has already passed the anti-contractualization bill, while the version in the Senate is still pending. Instead of issuing an EO, the President may possibly certify the bill as urgent for its swift passage.
Instead of the President signing an executive order on the issue of contractualization, he will instead certify as a priority bill that is now pending in the Senate on security of tenure.
Rosalie Cos, UNTV News and Rescue, Malacanang.
Several labor groups are not in favor of letting the Congress deliberate on the law that will fight contractualization. Aiko Miguel will tell us why.
Some labor groups accuse the government for giving them false hopes. This after Malacanang announced there will be no executive order against contractualization. The Associated Labor Unions Trade Union Congress of the Philippines, or ALO-TUCP, says they are not in favor of having the Congress push for the law against contractualization.
We urge the President to please sign the labor-drafted EO to serve as a policy guidance to the fate and direction of the security of tenure bill now pending in Congress.
ALO-TUCP says labor groups will gather on Saturday to discuss their next step. Labor groups also plan to conduct protest rallies on Labor Day to insist on the President to sign an executive order against contractualization.
Mas kinakailangang ipakita natin ang galit, ang pagprotesta at ang pagigiit.
Labor groups also object the bill on ENDO of the lower house of Congress, which according to them just even more extends contractualization in the country.
Ang nilalaman ng House Bill 6908 ay fake security of tenure bill.
Labor Secretary Silvestre Bello III, on the other hand, says with the bills filed in the Congress, the government will have a stronger stance on implementing sanctions against companies or entities relative to contractualization.
Medyo mabigat-bigat lang yung the issue of penalty, di ba? Yung penalty which could not be provided for in the proposed executive order because only Congress can impose penalty.
Secretary Bello adds that on Labor Day, President Rodrigo Duterte will give an announcement that will favor the labor sector. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
A recent Nielsen study shows a drop in sales of sweetened beverages due to the tax reform for acceleration and inclusion, or TRAIN law. Monokson will tell us why.
Susan bought a 2-liter soft drinks for the birthday party of her grandson. Since the tax reform for acceleration and inclusion, or TRAIN law, was implemented, she now buys sweetened beverages only occasionally.
Occasional na lang kasi good for the health din naman yung hindi ganyan ka ano eh. Yes, 'di ba? Dapat water lang lagi, 'di ba?
A study by Nielsen, a consumer data analytics company, shows a drop in the sale of sweetened beverages in stores a month after the TRAIN law was implemented. This include powdered juice drinks, which dropped by 15.4% in February 2018 from 1.7% in the same month last year. Powdered tea from 3.4% to 18.1% in February this year, and carbonated drinks from 4.1% last February 2017 to a drop of 7% this 2018. However, supermarket owners felt a change in the buying patterns of consumers since the TRAIN law was implemented. Consumers have now become meticulous in choosing products to buy.
Some of them might have gone to the sweeteners na mas mababa, but once a sweet tooth, always a sweet tooth. Siguro meron talagang pag kumakain sila, they have to have something na sweet to drink.
The Department of Trade and Industry, on the other hand, says this will just be temporary and soon sales of sweetened beverages will go up again.
Bibili pa rin ng tao, eventually nag-adjust lang ngayon. But eventually, kung ikaw ay consumer ng soft drinks at gustong-gusto mo yan, you'll be prepared to pay a higher price. Kasi gusto mo talaga.
The DTI will strictly monitor the price movement of products in the market. Mon Hokson, UNTV News and Rescue, Makati City.
The Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board, or LTFRB, suspends Grab's 2 pesos per minute travel time charges. Joanna will tell us why.
After Grab Philippines admitted yesterday the non-disclosure of travel time rate charges to its passengers, the Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board, or LTFRB, ordered Grab to stop these charges while investigations relative to complaints against Grab are underway.
In order not to preempt whatever decision that we would have on the 2 pesos, and immediately suspend as well, the 2 peso per minute charge.
The LTFRB has previously emphasized that Grab did not make the implementation of the travel time rate transparent to them. However, the board has yet to decide whether to allow the refund of the 3.2 billion pesos excess charges on Grab's passengers. Grab Philippines, on the other hand, will file a motion for reconsideration to LTFRB to appeal against the suspension of 2 pesos per minute travel time charge. In a sad statement, Grab says the said LTFRB decision will restrain drivers from making trips and will make booking harder for passengers. Meanwhile, the board has approved the application of transport network companies Hype, Hirna, and Otto, which will now be competing with Grab.
If you bring in other players, then you promote competition. And when you promote competition, yung mga players mismo will have to level up their kind of service para tataas yung kwalidad ng serbisyo sa mananakay.
Like other ride-hailing services, private vehicles that will be given franchise may operate under Hype.
Aside from that, what separates us from the other TNCs is that our app can handle text messaging. So let's say, for example, if the passenger doesn't have any data anymore, then it will be directed to the SMS booking or the text messaging.
However, the Hype app is not yet downloadable as of now. On Monday, Hype will conduct pre-accreditation for interested partner operators. Hype will formally launch on May 26, in which Hype will provide free rides to the public. Joanna, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
The Department of Agriculture will implement reforms in the image of the National Food Authority. Meanwhile, NFA targets to double its buffer stock. Ray Pelayo will tell us why.
It's a big challenge to the Department of Agriculture to change the image of the National Food Authority. Agriculture Secretary Manny Piñol says since the NFA's supervision is with the DA once again, they will set some measures to remove the public perception of corruption in the agency. Among the issues implicating the agency are the repacking of NFA rice and eventually selling them as commercial rice. Piñol says CCTV cameras will be set up in NFA warehouses to monitor the ins and outs of deliveries. GPS devices will also be installed in delivery trucks to monitor the routes that they are taking.
Para meron tayong talagang recording kung sino yung nag-withdraw, gaano karami.
Meanwhile, NFA targets to make the buffer stock last up to 2 months instead of only 30 days. This is to ensure that there will be enough supply of rice, especially in times of calamity. Local procurement of palay will also be intensified. They are also studying the possibility of building of additional warehouses since the NFA's rice storage now are insufficient.
May mga may mga areas na kukunti lang yung warehouses ng NFA. We usually rent warehouses.
The technical working group will also be formed to study the pricing of rice in the country. DA and DTI say the retailers still have a free hand in determining the price of rice as there is no existing suggested retail price for rice. Ray Pilayo, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
Senate Committee on Agriculture and Food Chairman Senator Cynthia Villar insists to sell the rice smuggled into the country to the National Food Authority. Senator Villar says this is for the Filipino people to benefit, especially the poor and not the smugglers.
Pagbibili din nila yun to elsewhere, di sa NFA na lang ipagbili para sigurado. Kasi minsan pag smuggled rice, ang nakakabili din yung nag-smuggle. Ito siguradong for the people to.
This would include the more than 27,000 sacks of rice seized by the Philippine Navy in the waters near Zamboanga, Sibugay. Broiler raisers find the reported price increase of chicken in some markets dubious. Ray Pelayo will tell us why.
The Department of Trade and Industry is now investigating the reported increase in prices of chicken in the market. The United Broiler Raisers Association says they have not received any reports of poultry fatalities and that there is also no movement in the farm gate price of chicken.
Sa katunayan, mas mababa ngayon kaysa noong isang buwan noong March 16. 89 noong March 16, di naman tumaas ng ganyan eh.
Chicken stalls at San Andres Market in Manila show no movement on the prices of poultry products that ranges from 135 to 150 pesos per kilogram.
Medyo matumal ngayon kasi bakasyon.
DTI Secretary Ramon Lopez says they will be checking the process in which poultry products are transported from the farms to the markets to determine how the reported price hike came about.
Kung sinasabi nilang hindi tumaas sa farm gate, tingnan mo na lang yung supply chain from the wholesaler to the retailer. So, imbisigahan natin yan.
The Department of Agriculture, on the other hand, says there is enough supply of chicken in the country. Ray Pilayo, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
The MRT operation experienced another glitch today. At past 1 in the afternoon, around 1,000 passengers were unloaded at Ortigas Station southbound due to door failure. They were just told to ride on the next train that came after 6 minutes. The Reuters investigative series Duterte's War won the 2018 Pulitzer Award for international reporting. The investigative series is created by American Claire Baldwin, British national Andrew Marshall, and Filipino Manuel Mogato. The series has been known for its relentless reporting and disclosing of the brutal killings behind the war on drugs launched by President Rodrigo Duterte. Another Balikatan exercise will be conducted by Filipino and American soldiers next month. Based on the advisory of the American Embassy in the Philippines, the Balikatan 34 is set on May 7 to 18 in different parts of Luzon. The annual U.S.-Philippine military exercise is focused on mutual defense, counterterrorism, humanitarian assistance, and disaster relief. Wine News will be right back. I'm Darlene Basingan. Stay tuned for Angel Ocaso III. Good evening.
On Wine News tonight, Malacanang announces that President Rodrigo Duterte will no longer issue an executive order against contractualization. A recent survey shows a drop in sales of sweetened beverages due to the train law. The Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board suspends Grab's 2 peso per minute travel time charge as the board approves the operation of 2 new transport network companies. Good evening. President Rodrigo Duterte will not sign an executive order against contractualization, says Malacanang. Rosa Licos will tell us why.
It is up to Congress to finally put an end on ENDO or end of contract system of employment in the country. This is the position of the Department of Labor and Employment or DOLE, shared by Malacanang. With this development, Malacanang says President Rodrigo Duterte need not issue an executive order on contractualization. This is contrary to the previous announcement it made that there would be an EO before May 1 or Labor Day.
No EO anymore?
I believe so. That is the position of Secretary Bello now.
What about the palace, the president?
We go by the, alam mo naman ang position ni President, no? He leaves the management of the line departments to the secretaries.
Roque also says the president has already fulfilled his campaign promise to end the 555 scheme or the 5-month contract of employees.
DOLE has beefed up the number of its labor inspectors from 200 to 500, and that's why they have effectively cracked down on those resorting to prohibited ENDO.
The House of Representatives has already passed the anti-contractualization bill, while the version in the Senate is still pending. Instead of issuing an EO, the President may possibly certify the bill as urgent for its swift passage.
Instead of the President signing an executive order on the issue of contractualization, he will instead certify as a priority bill that is now pending in the Senate on security of tenure.
Rosa Licos, UNTV News and Rescue, Malacanang.
A recent Nielsen study shows a drop in sales of sweetened beverages due to the tax reform for acceleration and inclusion or train law. Monokson will tell us why.
Susan bought a 2-liter soft drinks for the birthday party of her grandson. Since the tax reform for acceleration and inclusion or train law was implemented, she now buys sweetened beverages only occasionally.
Occasional na lang kasi good for the health din naman yung hindi ganyan ka ano eh. Yes, 'di ba? Dapat water lang lagi, 'di ba?
A study by Nielsen, a consumer data analytics company, shows a drop in the sale of sweetened beverages in stores a month after the train law was implemented. This include powdered juice drinks, which dropped by 15.4% in February 2018 from 1.7% in the same month last year. Powdered tea from 3.4% to 18.1% in February this year, and carbonated drinks from 4.1% last February 2017 to a drop of 7% this 2018. However, supermarket owners felt a change in the buying patterns of consumers since the train law was implemented. Consumers have now become meticulous in choosing products to buy.
Some of them might have gone to the sweeteners na mas mababa, but once a sweet tooth, always a sweet tooth. Siguro meron talagang pag kumakain sila, they have to have something na sweet to drink.
The Department of Trade and Industry, on the other hand, says this will just be temporary and soon sales of sweetened beverages will go up again.
Bibili pa rin ng tao, eventually nag-adjust lang ngayon. But eventually, kung ikaw ay consumer ng soft drinks at gustong-gusto mo yan, you'll be prepared to pay a higher price. Kasi gusto mo talaga eh.
The DTI will strictly monitor the price movement of products in the market. Mon Hokson, UNTV News and Rescue, Makati City.
The Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board or LTFRB suspends Grab's 2 pesos per minute travel time charges. This after Grab Philippines admitted yesterday the non-disclosure of travel time rate charges to its passengers. The LTFRB has previously emphasized that Grab did not make the implementation of the travel time rate transparent to them.
In order not to preempt whatever decision that we would have on the 2 pesos, no, and immediately suspend as well, no, the 2 peso per minute charge.
Grab Philippines, on the other hand, will file a motion for reconsideration to the LTFRB to appeal against the suspension of 2 pesos per minute travel time charge. Several lawmakers urged the Philippine government to assert the country's claim in Panganiban or Mischief Reef amid the alleged presence of Chinese aircrafts in the area. May Bermudez tells us why.
Several senators expressed alarm on the alleged presence of 2 Chian Y-7 transport aircrafts in Panganiban or Mischief Reef, which is part of the Philippines' exclusive economic zone. For Senator Antonio Trillanes, the government must plan concrete actions of the country's security personnel once China adds more facilities in the area.
That is a cause for alarm. Kailangan yung ating security officials ay gumagawa na ng mga contingency plans at proposals kung paano ma-address yan.
Liberal Party senators such as LP President Senator Francis Pangilinan and Senator Bam Aquino expressed dismay over the presence of the said aircrafts. They said the Permanent Court of Arbitration already ruled that the Philippines has the sovereign rights over the territory. Security analyst Professor Romel Banlawi meantime says now that China has built a 3-kilometer runway in Mischief Reef, there is a possibility that oil exploration will be expedited by China.
That runway is so long that it can even serve as a permanent aircraft carrier of China.
Currently, the government is still confirming the validity of the photo. Even the Chinese embassy has not issued a statement over the said issue. DFA Secretary Alan Peter Cayetano earlier confirmed that the Philippines is ready to file a diplomatic protest once it proves that militarization is happening in the territory.
The DFA is taking all diplomatic actions necessary to protect our claim and to communicate to them our desire, to return features to original state.
Meanwhile, an international law expert says the government should have acted even before the landing of the planes in the territory.
Our Navy and our Air Force should be continuously reminding the foreign vessels, aircrafts, or whatever other things that are there, that they are in Philippine territory.
May Bermudez, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
Vice President Leni Robredo is asking the Presidential Electoral Tribunal to apply a 25% threshold percentage in counting votes, which she claims was used in the 2016 elections. But the spokesman of Bongbong Marcos claims the new threshold set by Comelec was purposely done to favor Robredo. Roderick Mendoza will tell us why.
Vice President Leni Robredo admitted losing votes in the ongoing pilot recount of the Supreme Court, which sits as the Presidential Electoral Tribunal. For instance, in a precinct in Balatan, Camarines Sur, she lost 12 votes, but the votes for Marcos was maintained. Robredo says this is the effect of the 50% threshold applied by the tribunal, meaning the oval should be at least half shaded for the vote to be counted. In her motion for reconsideration, Robredo pleaded with the SC to reverse its resolution and immediately order its revisors to use the 25% threshold.
Ang hinihingi lang naman po natin, bigyan tayo ng patas na laban. Ang hinihingi po natin na kung ano yung batayan nung pagbilang ng mga boto nung eleksyon. Kung ano yung batayan, pagbilang ng boto ng lahat ng kandidato. Ayun din sana yung batayan na gamitin sa atin.
In its April 10 resolution, the Supreme Court stated it is not aware the Comelec implemented the 25% threshold during the 2016 elections. To prove otherwise, Robredo presented to the court the letter of Comelec Commissioner Luis Tito Guia and the resolution of Comelec and Bank approving the new threshold. But Marcos' spokesman, Attorney Vic Rodriguez, says Robredo is using it erroneously, since the Comelec only adopted it in September 2016, 4 months after the elections, or 3 months after Marcos filed his election protest. He says it is an obvious ploy of the Comelec led by then Chairman Andres Bautista to favor Robredo once the manual recount starts. Roderick Mendoza, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
The Department of Natural Resources or DENR orders self-dismantling of 14 establishments in Puerto Galera. May Bermudez will tell us why.
The Department of Environment and Natural Resources, or DENR, has directed the owners of 14 establishments in Puerto Galera, Oriental Mindoro to demolish their buildings, which have been found with several violations. They are given 30 days by the DENR Mimaropa to dismantle their structures, which are mostly located in Sabang and White Beach. Some of the violations include building structures near the shoreline, not abiding by the environmental rules, and proper waste disposal.
So within 30 days, the DNR will be monitoring yung progress ng compliance nila dun sa notice to vacate. One of our reasons is the violation on easement.
Establishments ordered to be dismantled also include the Ocean Dream Lodge, Black Lodging House, Sabang Inn, and Mangustin Restaurant.
In Puerto Galera kasi pinatupad natin yung 3 meters easement being considered as urban. And then sa White Beach, yung 20 meters. So based dun sa water code, yun yung ating naging basis for the notices that we serve to that 14 establishment.
Should these business owners not abide by the order, the DENR personnel will be the ones to demolish their buildings. Some 500 structures are being assessed by Task Force Galera in Sabang and White Beach, which are popular tourist destinations in Oriental Mindoro. The DENR Mimaropa says these efforts aim to boost tourism in the island as well as preserve its natural resources. Mai Bermudez, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
The Commission on Elections advises voters must not be surprised if they will see the date October 2017 printed on the ballots this coming barangay and Sangguniang Kabataan elections. Aiko Miguel will tell us why.
The Commission on Elections have already printed over 59 million official ballots last year for the Luzon and Visayas intended for the supposed October 2017 barangay and SK polls. The printing of additional 18 million official ballots for ARMM region began last February. Since the election will push through on May 14, the printed ballots will still be used in the election. Comelec explains to the voters that the ballots with October 2017 stamps are not fake.
So wag po kayong mangangamba, hindi po bogus yung mga balotang hawak ninyo.
The Comelec clarifies it is not prohibited since the May 14 barangay and SK polls is a manual election.
Yun po gagamitin. Meron kaming resolution na nagsasabi na yung materyales na iniprint natin noong 2017 for the October 2017 elections, yun din po ang gagamitin natin ngayon.
Meanwhile, the ballots printed for ARMM have already made 2018 print.
Sa Mindanao, kasi noong 2017, hindi tayo nag-imprenta ng kahit ano dyan dahil sinuspindi natin dala ng martial law. So ngayon, meron na, yun, petsa tama, May 2018.
The election materials are likely to be delivered next week to some regions in Luzon and even in ARMM. On the other hand, the filing of certificates of candidacy continues at the Comelec offices and is set to end tomorrow at exactly 5 in the afternoon. The poll body has so far recorded over 640,000 submitted COCs. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
President Rodrigo Duterte appoints Court of Appeals Associate Justice Socorro Inting as ad interim commissioner of the Commission on Elections, or Comelec. Based on the appointment papers signed by the Chief Executive, Inting has a term until February 2, 2025. Inting is from Davao City and finished law in Ateneo de Davao in 1980. Inting is the 4th appointee of President Duterte in Comelec. Up next on Y News. President Rodrigo Duterte warns corrupt policemen anew. Wishful 5 starts recording for very first album. Stay tuned for William Theo. I'm Angelo Castro III. Good evening.
Here are the headlines on Y News Tonight.
Malacanang announces that President Rodrigo Duterte will no longer issue an executive order against contractualization. A recent survey shows a drop in sales of sweetened beverages due to the train law. And the Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board suspends Grab's 2 peso per minute travel time charge as the board approves the operation of 2 new transport network companies. Good evening. The Department of Labor and Employment, or DOLE, insists that it is up to Congress to finally put an end on ENDO, or end of contract system of employment in the country. With this development, Malacanang says President Rodrigo Duterte need not issue an executive order on contractualization. This is contrary to the previous announcement it made that there would be an EO before May 1st or Labor Day.
No EO anymore?
I believe so. That is the position of Secretary Bello now.
What about the palace? The
We
president?
go by the... Alam mo naman ang position ni President. No? He leaves the management of the line departments to the secretaries.
Instead of issuing an EO, the President may possibly certify the bill as urgent for its swift passage. Meanwhile, a study by Nielsen, a consumer data analytics company, showed a drop in the sale of sweetened beverages in stores a month after the train law was implemented. These include powdered juice drinks, powdered tea, and carbonated drinks. The Department of Trade and Industry, on the other hand, says this will just be temporary and soon the sales of sweetened beverages will soon go up again.
Bibili pa rin ng tao, eventually nag-adjust lang ngayon. But eventually, kung ikaw ay consumer ng soft drinks at gustong-gusto mo yan, you'll be prepared to pay a higher price. Kasi gusto mo talaga eh.
The DTI will strictly monitor the price movement of products in the market. The Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board, or LTFRB, suspends Grab's 2 peso per minute travel time charges. This after Grab Philippines admitted yesterday the non-disclosure of travel time rate charges to its passengers. The LTFRB has previously emphasized that Grab did not make the implementation of the travel time rate transparent to them.
In order not to preempt whatever decision that we would have on the 2 pesos, no, and immediately suspend as well, no, the 2 peso per minute charge.
Grab Philippines, on the other hand, will file a motion for reconsideration to LTFRB to appeal against the suspension of 2 peso per minute travel time charge. In other news, President Rodrigo Duterte warns corrupt policemen anew. Rosalie Cos will tell us why.
PNP Chief Director General Ronald Bato de la Rosa formally steps down from office after almost 2 years of leading the Philippine National Police. In his speech during the PNP Change of Command ceremony, President Rodrigo Duterte warns corrupt policemen using the name of the former PNP chief.
I'd like to just issue a warning, not give, but issue talaga, that kayong mga pulis na sa droga, na sa kidnap o ransom, kung anong-anong krimen na pinapasok ninyo, pagdating ninyo sa bilibid, ang sasalubong sa inyo ay si De La Rosa.
The chief executive praises the achievement of the PNP under the term of De La Rosa, such as the destruction of illegal drug operations, decrease in crime rates, and dismissal of police involved in illegal drug operations. President Duterte appoints De La Rosa as the next chief of the Bureau of Corrections. Meanwhile, President Duterte cites the reason why he chose Director General Oscar Albayalde as the next chief of the Philippine National Police.
The most telling, sir, na recommendation or endorsement, maniwala ka o hindi, galing sa kapwa mo pulis. So yung sinabi ko, kanila, tinatanong ko po, sino gusto ninyong pumalit kay Bato? Ay, sabi ko, ito si Agbayalde. Anong estilo nito? Sir, wag yan, sir. Masyadong mahigpit at stricto. Mahihirapan kami. Sabi ko, ganun. Maligaw kay Bongbong, tawagan mo si Mijal Dia. siya ang magiging bagong Director General sa pulis.
In the end, President Duterte once again promised the full support of the government to the PNP by enhancing their capabilities and providing modern equipment. Rosa Licoz, UNTV News and Rescue, Camp Crame.
The ruling PDP Laban has released their initial list of senatorial bets for the 2019 midterm elections, but sets conditions to those included in the list. Nel Maribohok will tell us why.
20 personalities have made it to the list of the PDP Laban senatorial lineup for 2019 midterm elections. These include the 6 re-electionists, Senators Grace Poe, Sani Angara, Cynthia Villar, J.V. Ejercito, Nancy Binay, and Aquilino Pimentel III. Also in the list are Representatives Ace Barbers, Albi Benitez, Carlo Nograles, Sajid Mangudadatu, Geraldine Roman, Reynaldo Umali, and Pia Cayetano. Also shortlisted were Special Assistant to the President Christopher Bongo, Secretary Harry Roque, Secretary Francis Tolentino, Asek Moca Uson, musician Freddy Aguilar, former Secretary Rafi Alunan, and media personality Jiggy Manikad.
Pero at least ilagay namin sa listahan, kung magpapasurvey kami, if ever, ilalagay din na isasama namin yung name ng tao. And then isi-share namin ang resulta sa kanya para realistic yung mga decision-making gagawin niya.
Senator Pimentel says those who are in the list must show their support in the party's advocacies.
Dahil sa sikat ako, pamember ako sa party, tapos yun na, automatic na. Hindi. Tignan natin ang service to the party. Tulungan naman ang party. Alam mo yung ang number 1 advocacy namin, federalism. So dapat magpakita naman sila na active din sila sa federalism movement.
Pimentel adds the Senate bets will go through assessment by the party chairman, President Rodrigo Duterte. The list of the individuals who will run for senator will be likely finalized in September. Nel Maribohok, UNTV News and Rescue, Senate of the Philippines.
Malacanang clarifies there is no crackdown on foreigners supportive of the opposition. The government, however, is just implementing the law. This after President Rodrigo Duterte admitted that he ordered the investigation of Australian missionary Patricia Fox. Fox was arrested last Monday through the mission order of the Bureau of Immigration because of her alleged participation in political activities.
Hindi po yan crackdown. Talaga pong yan ang batas. Sabi ko nga po, dura lex sed lex. The law may be harsh but such is the law. At alam nyo, napakadami naman pong mga dayuhan na na-deport na because of partisan activities. Incidentally, bukod po doon sa batas na Commonwealth Act pa, meron pang Operations Order number SBM 2015-025, Prohibition on Foreign Tourists in Engaging in Political Activities in the Philippines. This was signed by Sigrid Fee Mison and approved by then Secretary Laila M. De Lima.
Okay.
Malinaw po yan. Wala pong crackdown yan. Yan lang po talagang batas.
The Consultative Committee eyes consolidation of Philippine claims on disputed territories under the federal constitution. The government will also be obliged to assert the country's sovereign rights in the new charter. Roderick Mendoza will tell us why.
The Consultative Committee has already agreed in principle on the changes it will propose on the definition of the national territory. Compared to the 1987 Constitution, the committee eyes to consolidate the country's claims to the West Philippine Sea, Benham Rice, and other territories in the federal constitution. Under the proposal, the ruling of the Arbitral Tribunal on the Philippine case against China's 9-dash line will be incorporated into the Constitution, as well as the United Nations approval of the country's sovereign rights over the Benham Rice. The committee also proposes to resurrect the Sabah claim based on historic rights of the Sulu Sultanate, which was excised under the 1987 Constitution. The rights of Filipinos on the Scarborough or Panatag Shoal will be asserted as well. According to San Beda Law Dean Ranilio Aquino, who sponsored the proposal, this, however, will not preclude the country from entering agreements with other countries to develop natural resources. This on the condition that it will not violate the country's sovereign rights.
We are asserting our sovereignty, but in the exercise of its sovereignty, the Philippines can also enter into agreements with other countries, including China, that may be beneficial to the Republic.
The committee also wants to oblige the government under the federal constitution to assert the country's sovereign rights.
Yes, we're obligating the government also to assert our sovereign rights, leaving, of course, the details and minutiae of policy to the government, because those are things that you cannot put in the Constitution.
The committee will ask the DFA to comment on the proposed definition of the national territory before they vote on its final wordings next week. Roderick Mendoza, UNTV News and Rescue, Pasay City.
Wishcovery's Wishful 5 have started cooking something new for their fans. Leslie Longboan tells us why.
Wishful 5 excitingly started recording yesterday for their first big project after Wishcovery. Fans will be hearing original songs from the Wishfuls. Hazel Bartolome, Louie Ann Kulala, and Princess Sevillana were the first batch to record their new single.
Yung binigay yung kanta, talagang, syempre alam mong sayo, nakakatuwa na, napaiyak ako, nabiyahe ako nun eh. Tapos tumawag ako sa nanay ko, sabi ko, ma, may kanta na akong akin.
Sobrang millennial, ganyan. Sobrang millennial ng tunog and parang may pagka Sarah G feels, ganun. Like, hindi biro ang mag-record ng isang upbeat song. I mean, it takes a lot of strength din sa vocals.
Hoping and wishing and praying na magustuhan ng mga tao to kasi unang-una relatable siya. Pangalawa, ang ganda nung melody niya, and pangatlo, yung lyrics sobrang tagos sa puso.
The Wishfuls were guided in the recording by award-winning hitmaker and Wishcovery resident reactor Junji Marcelo.
Madali silang i-guide. Sabihin mo ito, bibigay naman nila. Sabihin, talagang magagaling yung ating mga Wishfuls. Meron silang natural na musicality. It's very tough writing these songs, coming up with something that would fit each one. And I feel good now hearing them singing the song. Ay bagay!
Apart from original songs, some songs which were performed by the Wishful in the Grand Finals night will also be included in the album. Leslie Lomboan, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
Those are the reasons behind the news. April 19, 2018, I am William Theo, and because we need to know, we will always ask why. Thank you for watching Y News.